Hello and welcome to 10 with Ty. You know, when I started this podcast, I wanted experts from three different fields. I wanted property gurus because, that's my shtick. I wanted share experts because that's my second love of investing. But I also wanted entrepreneurs because building a successful business is a surefire way to wealth creation. And that's where my next guest comes in. His name's Carl Taylor. He's an IT guru, a business coach, and he owns a digital marketing company called Automation Agency. But what I like about Carl, he's also very passionate about helping dads build the business and life of their dreams. Carl, welcome to 10 with Ty.
Great to be here. Happy to jump in.
Cool. So, Carl, let's go back in time, back to young Carl and starting your entrepreneurial journey. Were you a lemonade stand kind of guy, or were you selling Star Wars memorabilia?
Well, my first official business, like with an actual registered ABN, was at 15 years old. So I didn't necessarily have unofficial businesses, but I did have probably similar entrepreneurial ideas. Like I taught myself to code at 10. I was building software. I was going down a path of being like a hacker and
Yeah.
I was going down a not great path. And thankfully I don't even know what redirected me. It might have been my parents who were a bit concerned, but it kind of redirected me and I started to focus more on business. But I always wanted to be an inventor as a kid. I had access to broadband, cable, high-speed internet in 1998, long before most kids did, right? And so I was downloading movies and I had saved up to buy a DVD burner cost me like $500 to get a 4-speed DVD burner. And so I would download movies and I would burn them on DVDs and I didn't sell them, but I would do disc swapping. A long, long time ago, there was actually a forum online in Australia where people like me, you would put up a list, like a spreadsheet of here's all the movies I have, here's all the movies they have. And you would look at your list and go, I want that. Can you find 4 things on my list? And then you'd post them through the mail to each other before you could download stuff. And you'd send these burnt DVDs to each other. So I had things like that I did, but I never really got into the entrepreneurial side until I just officially started doing it at 15. I was going to be an online costume shop. This is before live transactions were being done online. I was too early. I was very early and I wanted to sell costumes. I wanted to eventually become like a Lucasfilm Lights and Arts kind of studio eventually is what I wanted. But I started with just costumes and things that I was going to sell online. I built my own website. I did a business plan in my business studies class at school about my actual business. I had a registered ABN, but no one wanted to buy those things. It turned into a web design business, which was my first official business building websites for people at 15. So.
Well, that's come full circle, hasn't it, now with Automation Agency?
It has in many ways. It has, yeah.
Do you want to explain to the audience what and disclaimer, I've started using Automation Agency and it's fantastic. Bit of a plug there for you, but it's great. Do you want to tell the audience what Automation Agency is and how it works?
Yeah, Automation Agency, basically, we are the marketing team that you don't need to hire and train. We are the execution team. So if you've got the ideas of what you want to do and you're like, I need to build that landing page, I need these graphics done, I need a video edited, I want to create content, I want to build this automation inside of my automation tools. And if you're like, what automation tools? We actually can provide an automation tool. It's called Automate OS as well. We've got our own system we can give people. But like it basically eliminating that issue for solopreneurs and marketing teams and marketing agencies where they're like, how do I build a team that I can maybe afford? Like solopreneurs often can't afford much. So it's like, pay us a flat monthly fee, you get unlimited access to our team. And agencies, how do you have something that can scale up and down? Some months you're busy, some months you're not. So you can scale up how much you use our team. And soon, hopefully in about a month from, I don't know when this goes live, but a month from recording, we'll also have AI agents as well as our human agents that can do some of the work as well.
Okay. All right. We'll get to AI later. I just want to circle back, right, to because you've got dad. I want to circle back to the entrepreneurial side of your life. Okay. You've also got your focus now seems to be on dadpreneurs. Do you want to explain you've got a podcast called Dadpreneurs? Do you want to let the audience know what dadpreneurs are and how do you help dads?
We help dads who are established business owners who are struggling with the idea of work-life balance, right? They built the business, they got the money, but maybe what we find is that either their relationships are really struggling because they've focused on work. Could be a relationship with your wife, could be a relationship with the kids. And ultimately, the business has sucked up too much of their life. They're going, how do I step out of these operations? How do I actually get more freedom to connect with my family? Usually the people who come to us have had a realization, or they always knew all along, that family is actually the most important thing. The relationships is the most important part of life, and they've let business get in the way. So we help them build a business that doesn't rely on them, step out of the day-to-day through automation, team, etc., smart ways of working. But not just that, you're surrounded by just other dads who are in business. Because let's just be honest, when you're a dad in business, you approach business differently. You just do. You've got different decisions with different impacts versus if you're a single guy, or you're even a double income, no kids kind of family. It's just different decisions, different constraints. And when you can be around other dads, like our last call, we spoke with one dad about his kids being bullied. How would we handle that? So we covered a whole bunch of business topics, and then we spent the next part of the call going like, here's how we would advise you to try and help your son who's being bullied at school.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the practical things that dads can do to, build a business of their dreams and not lose their partners and kids along the way?
One of the first things that we get people to do is design their ideal week, right? Like, I think it's really important that we build the constraints. Like, the bottom line, like if I was to give you the 30-second, how do you actually build a business that works without you? You make the decision and you back it up. There's more nuance and there's strategies to do that. But really, one of the biggest things is if you can make the shift from I'm a business operator, I'm the technician who does these things, I have to show up, to actually like I'm the owner of a business, and the owner of the business does not deal with this customer, it does not do these things. And then you make the decision that that's what's happening. And then you set up the constraints. And some of those constraints are, okay, you're going to be home at 4 p.m. every day. You're going to switch off and you're going to go and be with your kids, or you're going to do a date night, or for me, like I take Fridays off. Like even this week, the number of people who have reached out to me, a partnership with this other company, and they're like, oh, can you meet on Friday? And I've had to say to him 3 times now, I don't work Fridays. Fridays is family day, because he can't remember. It's just like Fridays is family day. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But it's building those constraints, and that's different for, I've had clients, for them, their constraint is they work from 8 a.m. till 1 p.m. every day, and then they finish work. That's their day. For me, I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, different things for those different days, and then Friday is completely off. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is completely off. And I've got different hours that I constrain to. But putting those constraints in place, and then putting family in first. So often we put business first, and then I'll get to family. But it's like, no, let's get your time with your kids. Let's put the holidays you're going to go away with. Let's have a dad venture with your kids. Let's have date nights with your partner. Put all that in the calendar. Put in your personal training and your workouts, the time for you as well. Then put work around that. There's so many things you can do, but like that's one of the biggest things that could make a huge shift for anyone.
Yeah, my wife and I recently did that with Dale Bowman on Plan Your Life Day, and it was first put in date nights and block out holidays first. So prioritize that against the work, and then let the work around that. I love that. What about the financial side? You interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs. I've looked at some businesses in my life, and to buy, and they've said, oh, my business earns $500,000 profit per year. And I go through it and, wait a minute, you're not paying yourself. So if I look at that business, they try to tell me it's worth 500,000 times 3 times earnings, worth 1.5. So, well, no, because I'd want to put someone in there for $250,000 to run it. So really, it's only $250,000 times 3. It's worth half what you think it is. Do you see that? Do you see people struggling to not pay themselves and not focusing on that side of it, and just putting all their money in and thinking, oh, I've got this successful business? Is that a problem that you see from these dadpreneurs?
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's many business owners, especially earlier stage business owners and when I say early stage, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're only been in business 3 years. It just means where the business is up to. You could have been doing the same thing for 10 years straight, and you don't have 10 years of experience in business. You've got maybe 2 years of business experience. And you've just repeated that multiple times to get to 10 years of business. But like by early stage, like, you're in still the cash, trying to figure out cash flow. Maybe you're still trying to figure out product market fit. And so many of those people, and I was one of those guys, like I ran businesses for years that didn't take any money. And then eventually when I started paying myself even $200 a week, it was like, well, this is amazing, but not enough to live on. So paying yourself first is one of the big principles at Dadpreneur as well, is like, you've got to pay yourself as the CEO immediately. And if that means the business is no longer profitable, that's okay. You just now need to go, how do we fix this business model to be viable? Or maybe there's something wrong with the business. But to your point around the valuation of the company, I actually, I was a licensed business broker for a while. Like, if I was going to sell the business, I would take what I take as my pay out of the business and I'd put that back in. Like, if I was selling the business, I would value it based on owners' drawings. But a smart buyer would definitely come back in and say, well, hold on a second. I'm not going to run this business myself. I'm not buying myself a job.
Yeah.
But for many smaller businesses, they're selling a job. And if they're selling a job, well, that's what you're selling. You're selling the income potential. But for smart people like you and I, we would come in and go, well, hold on, I'd have to employ someone at $100,000 a year. So actually it's only got 20 grand profit. So I'm going to value it on that.
100 grand a year. I think baristas get more than that now, Carl.
Well, obviously it depends on the business that we're talking about selling.
You haven't employed anyone in Australia lately. They're all in the Philippines, I suspect.
They are. Yeah.